All right, guys, it's the Why I'm Angry podcast, where today we're on the Who's Elected Anyway, where everyone's trying to fool you and the votes don't matter. That's right, it is voting day here in the US of A. And, if you got up early today, I got up super early and voted Sunday afternoon and got my vote in. I did it with my wife because she's out of town this week, doing some business and stuff. And what's funny or what's interesting about it is that they were even kind of squaring things away so that they weren't doing quite as much today out and about. It was more the in building conference, I guess, so that everyone was kind of sheltered in place, in just in case, something decided to pop off, or just election stuff. You never know what's going to happen. We've had at least one assassination attempt and a second or third gunman around vice the you know President Trump, former President Trump, and which kind of brings me to everyone's saying or everyone's a lot of people have said that oh you know they're worried about what they would do, what the Republicans would do if blah 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 and blah blah blah. I even had some people who were talking about how many Trump and Vance signs were around their house and how they were living in Trump world, and they were, to put up a Biden or a Harris sign. They don't know they don't know what people would do to retaliate. Well, let me tell you, as a conservative, as a as someone who's voted Republican because the Republican is the most conservative party between the two parties, Republicans and Democrats. Um, you know, we're considered gun owning, Bible thumping, hating women, misogynist pigs, racist in all ways. And so what we'll do is we're responsible gun owners. We will do nothing unless attacked or provoked on our own. And so what will happen? Nothing. You put up your sign, we'll wave at you, we'll still be friends. But if I put up my sign in your neighborhood, even if you're the only one, you will hate me. As a Democrat, you're taught to to hate the other side. And you know, that's a generalization, and I hate to say that. But at the same point, I guess you haven't heard a ton from me lately because I've been super busy trying to work on other projects and keep things going there and just start up some new stuff. And with the fall, we're getting the gardens closed down, the property ready for the winter. Um, and I have a 2.5-year-old that I'm making sure that I enjoy as much of this time with her as I possibly can. And so, the election, you guys have known who you're going to vote for a while. There isn't a ton that I could get on and say that's going to change your mind. The biggest thing I'm going to say is get out and vote. If you're not voting, you're part of the problem. If you're not voting, then you really have very little say, or very little way to complain over the next 4 years, or even the next year until the next vote, um, about anything, because you weren't here to help decide. And you could say, "Well, my vote doesn't count," or "My vote." Yeah, well, you can say that, but if 100 million people said that, you know, then only 50 million people or so would be deciding the vote. And so, yeah, one vote does matter because one vote becomes two votes, becomes six votes, becomes 100,000 votes, becomes millions of votes. And if we all sat back and said, it doesn't matter, because honestly, like I said, maybe this is rigged, maybe it's not. Maybe we as Americans still have a voice, and maybe we're just throwing votes to the wind here. But if we don't go out and vote, we've conceded. And so we're going to on the most patriotic of days. I mean, you could say, "Oh, it's the 4th of July." No, this is the most patriotic of days. This should be a national holiday. Every bank should be closed. Every whatever you want to say should be closed. We should vote on today, and we should have the results today. I mean, we're in a society where, we can get instant points I can get points right now on my Kroger Plus card. There is no reason that you can't put the ballot into a machine, it can't tabulate your votes and have it right there. And you can't say that we couldn't have set up a a website that will scan in your license, take a photo of your face, scan your face. I mean, Amazon does it already. Like, I have to take a photo of my face every time I come to work. And whether they verify with the actual photo of my license and the photo of my face, I don't know. I have to take a photo. Then they go on and they scan my license and they go from there. Like, if we could, as a country, as a state, each state could run it however they want and do that for absentee ballots. And so, in this, if you don't go out to vote, don't complain. It's not for you to this time. But get out. If you haven't gotten out and voted, get out and vote. You know, I it really does, it really is, most people's minds are met. But it's funny the things that they'll say to make you feel like no one's mind is met, or no one's mind is made up, or that, it's about one thing. And this is where I want you to see the big picture of things. If you haven't decided who you're going to vote for, or you haven't decided on the issues, you may not be in Ohio where they're voting on gerrymandering. You may be deciding on what, what levies you're going to um, vote for or against, And so this is what I said this is what I say every time I go into it is, do do I see the big picture? With a levy, do I see the big picture? Is the school going to use, does this make the school an absorbent amount of money? No. Is this something, like the levy for our local school um was like a thousandth of a dollar. And so like every, $1,000,000 they're getting like, you know, 10,000 bucks. For every $100, they're getting a buck. So, so it's like a hundredth or a tenth or a millionth of a dollar, or a hundredth or a thousandth of a dollar. It wasn't a tenth. Um, and it was pretty small. And and they had on there that, most likely it's supposed to raise somewhere around $440,000 for the school systems. And then they also were, or no, this was for our district roads and stuff like that. So, it was going to raise about that, and it was capped off at $1 million. So that kept the uh, the township kind of running, and being able to do some of the extra things like, you know, mow my hedge that was in the cul-de-sac that I live on. Things like that. Make sure the roads are clear and stuff like that. Um, so, some of that is, if I give, if it's, $1,000 and it's, you're giving $1 or you're giving $10 out of my taxes to run things, I'm okay with that. The big picture is things need to be run, and it needs to be funded somehow, and I'm okay with giving a couple bucks as my fair share. What I'm not okay with is giving my couple bucks so that blah 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 can have a cell phone. What I you know or putting into the fund for insurance that, we're going to pay somewhere in the range for three people of like 600 bucks a month. And, you know, before Obamacare, we were paying $80 a month. Now, you can say, "Oh, that was 12 years ago." Yeah, but in 12 years, it's gone up 1,000%. Yeah, things have gone up. But if you look at, the price of gas back then was still a buck and a half to $2. It's only doubled. Things have, and this is what we said from the beginning, since the government has taken over, they don't care about you. They care about the bottom line. They don't care about how good a service you're going to get. They care about the bottom line. They don't care about the doctor's education. They care about that he has a piece of paper that's hanging on the wall. They care about the bottom line. And, this the your doctors that go to Johns Hopkins or Harvard Medical or whatever aren't going to take the 5% or 20% or 30% that the government says that they'll pay them. That's it. So either those guys won't get a Harvard medical degree. They'll go to somewhere smaller or less expensive. Maybe and a lot of those places are great places. No dissing anybody that didn't go to your big colleges, but sometimes also those places don't give you the the extra experience of experiences. So, why they call doctor's practice is that they're still learning every time that they see a patient. They're seeing because we're all individuals, we were all created, as an individual, equally righted as such, but, you know, we weren't created as a, as a s- a as everybody's the same. We're not all created the same. We're created as an individual, and so going into the doctor, we're gonna show different symptoms, even if they're similar symptoms. We're gonna show them in a different way than the person before us. It's just like, when you look at the list of things that, COVID has as a symptom, it's super wide. It covers everything. The common cold. Do you have a sniffle? Do you have, is your nose running? Is it, do you have cough? All of that stuff. And so those doctors are taught and have seen, maybe a few more experiences because Harvard has the money to show them more. And Harvard has the money to put them into programs, where you've got doctors that have specialized in different things and are now teaching at the college level. And so with that, all of that to be said is the quality of care is going down because the government cares about the bottom line. The government's trying to take care of millions, hundreds of millions of people. They don't have time to look down and say, "Oh, Bobby, I see that you have broke your leg in a more substantial way, and so, we need you to go to this special surgeon that specializes in, crazy leg breaks, sports medicine or something like that. No, we're gonna get you to the doctor that's the cheapest. We're gonna get your leg fixed, but, you know, it may not be a Ford certified mechanic. It may just be the guy down the street named Big T. He may do a great job, but he may not use the same parts. And so when we give the government that much power, and we have, and guess what? Ain't going away anytime soon. The only real chance we got, the only hope we got, Donald J. Trump. And the reason why? Because he showed he can do those things. You want to, oh, he's going to take over the world. He's a fascist. Was he a fascist for the 4 years that he was a president? Were you persecuted the 4 years he was a president? And ladies, if you want to say you were persecuted because of the abortion laws were, your right or your precedented right to an abortion in the US was taken away from you at a national level, and that's oppression, well, you're wrong. Because basically all he did was take the precedent away. So now states can decide for themselves, and a lot of states have. And a lot of states do not follow my belief system. And some do. Some have, and and that's great. But there are still places where you can get an abortion. There are still people who believe in abortion. And w- the state of the here the one of the big um I guess one of the big spots open is Sherrod Brown's spot. Sherrod Brown running against Bernie Moreno, and his commercials keep going. Sherrod Brown will give a national abortion ban, or Bernie Moreno will give a national abortion ban. Well, Bernie Moreno's one senator. If he's elected, he's one senator. And as a junior senator, as a freshly elected senator, you don't have the ability to just start throwing bills out there. Yes, you have the ability, but there is a hierarchy. And so, if you go out there all willy-nilly just chucking bills in the places, you're gonna step on some toes that you need for later on for votes. And so, you just can't go out and do that, but it doesn't matter because they got their message out there. He's against abortion, and that's the devil. That's horrible. If you're against abortion, then what happens with these women that are raped and are molested or incest or the ones that every day come in the third trimester with a life-threatening issue? Well, here's the deal. I've listened to the doctors, talked to my wife who does a massive research on it, and there is less than 0.5% of women who get into the third trimester and it is life-threatening to them to have the baby. It is also less than around 0.5% for people who have gone through rape or incest to have to be pregnant. There is not one state that I've seen that doesn't have some sort of, if they had an abortion law that banned it after a certain time frame, that didn't allow you a certain amount of time to decide. And this is going to sound extremely harsh, but if you've been raped or you've been, you've been that, get, stand up for yourself. And I know that that's an easier said than done thing. But if we're not raising our children to be strong, to be able to take care of themselves, because as a victim, part of the healing process is standing up. And I know that's tough, and you can get tested for pregnancies and stuff like that, and there are things that, but honestly, God doesn't make mistakes. And, you know, as soon as that conception is made, that is it's a viable child. And so, but all of that again to say, yes, it's a serious thing, and yes, we can go down the rabbit holes, and yes, we can, you know, I have a couple people I want to talk to about, some solutions on that. But that's just one issue. And we're talking about, anywhere from 0.5% to 0.75% of people, who have gotten abortions. That's, in 10 million people, that's a lot, but it's still a couple dozen people. out of hundreds of millions of people in the US, we're going to allow abortions up until they pop out because of 40 or 50 people that we either don't want to inconvenience to make a decision at by a certain amount of time, or that were not standing up for themselves. And I had this argument with my wife. I said, you know, are we not enabling people to not stand up for themselves, to not get the justice that they deserve by not setting up a law, by not setting it up so that, by a certain amount of time, these people have to either declare that they were raped, or that they were molested, or whatever, and or that they have to get it done by that time. Let's get some absolution. Let's get this, let's get this taken care of. If you're going to take care of it, let's get it done before we cause any more undue pain and stress on everybody. Which I don't 100% still agree with. But if we're going to make an exception for the 1.5, the 0.75%, let's make an exception for the 0.75%, and let's call the rest of you who you are, and you're murderers, you're baby killers, you're abortionists. And I'm sorry. That doesn't mean you can't go to heaven. That doesn't mean you can't be a good Christian. That just means that you've sinned like the rest of us. The rest of us who have lied, or who have coveted another man's wife, or who have cheated, or anything that we've done, um that's a sin. It's all the same. Get your forgiveness, get to God, believe in Jesus with all your heart, and he'll see you as Jesus. But this one this one issue is not all the issues. It's not everything. And if you look at the big picture of you look at the big picture of both sides, and you see the Republican Party is flawed. It's not perfect, and I don't even claim to be a member of the Republican Party. You know, I attain for something even more strict than the Republican Party. I want us to be a strict constitutional country where we just follow the laws that are in the Constitution. And we don't make all these laws, extra laws for Social Security and things of that nature, because I believe, and I honestly know, that as a country, we have done it before, where we took care of our poor, we took care of our retirees, we took care of our sick and our needy among us, that we took care of them privately with our own organizations, our own local chapters of things. The Red Cross wasn't or isn't a government organization. Yet people still give millions and billions of dollars to that organization, and they get some government subsidies, I'm sure, being such a big philanthropical group. But if you think that you you giving your fair share to the government so that the government can dole out its help, so-called help, then you're lazy. You just care about yourself because giving the government the money to do the work, it's lazy. God didn't call you to be that. He didn't call you to render to Caesar so that he could take care of the poor and the downtrodden. He said if Caesar has a tax, give him his money. The problem is that we just continue to give him his money. And then we haven't pushed back and said, hey, enough's enough on taxes. You know, we're spending as much on taxes as we should be spending on our cars, on our vehicles that we use every day. That money you send into tax, do you get something from them every day? The right to breathe the air, the right to step foot on your own property? Is that it? Is that what you is you believe that is true freedom? Look at the big picture. Yes, the Republicans, you know, there are racists among us. There are misogynists in the group. But in all honesty, there are racists among all races. Asians are just as bad or worse than any of them because each of them have a hierarchy. You've got the Japanese that intern the Chinese. You got the Chinese who intern the Taiwanese. You got Koreans. You've got you got Africans who enslave other Africans. And guess what? They all look the same. They just grew up in a different area. It's not about what color you are. Some of the first slaves were white, being enslaved by white people. The Israelites were enslaved by the Egyptians. They all look similar. So it's not about color, not about a lot of times it's not about creed. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's about religion. But we have to look at the overall ideals. Rawr! Sorry about that. Hit the hit the wrong button. My finger tapped it. But we have to look at the overall ideals. For the most part, and nothing's going to be perfect. No system is going to be perfect. There's going to be some bad apples. That's why I say it's not a systemic racist issue in the police. There are bad people, and those people somehow get through. Maybe it's because people who do not look to stand up, they meet the quotas and they go on. But we need to look at the whole picture. Are the police in all good? Yeah, they take care of a lot of things. They do a job that, they're underfunded, understaffed, and a lot of times they're undereducated. They don't know what they're walking into. They don't know who they're going against. They're unarmed or less armed than they need to be. And so they do a tough job, but they protect us, and that's what the government should do. We should have police. We should have military. Should we have much else? Not really. Not as a national government. They should protect us. They should be able to render a decision on a dispute, and they should from there on. But your local government should be who's taking care of your murder trials, all of this stuff because they're in it. They know what's going on. If you want to get too intense on a murder, then fine, but do it with local people who know what's going on in the area, what the what the political climate is, and what the how how the emotional climate is in it. Did Was it a justifiable? Was it, what was it? And so to step your government back, if you could if you could give your go if we could give the government 10% to run the police, run the military, take care of those disputes. Freedom would then be free. Why are we getting a permit to hold rainwater? Because it's control. And you know what control does? Doesn't allow you to be free. And so you look at the vast majority of what the pu- re- that as of what the Republican Party is trying to do, and it's trying to put the power where it's supposed to be at the state level. And so what can you do if you live in a country where one state has the power over you that you don't like? You move. And people have moved in vast numbers from New York, from California, from all of from Washington, all of these places where they're controlling you. Chicago, where you can't hold on to, you can't have a gun, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, all these places where your freedoms are being imposed upon, and they you know they're making sure that, in that, fine, you're not getting held into that area. Freedom in this country. Get out. Go to another state. Go live in sell your property. I'm sure there's somebody else that's just dumb enough to buy your property, and you can get into wherever you want to go. Go somewhere more free. But that's the freedom of the US. That's the freedom of states having the ability to run things, is that, you know, like Europe, like the UK, like the European Union. If you don't like the country you're living in, you know, move on. That country's laws are too whatever. Move on. But, we also, you know, same thing with taxes. If you don't like taxes you're in, go on, move on. You don't like the people around that you can vote for. You keep getting outvoted. You keep getting, move on. Go find a place where you're like minded, or stay in the place you are and try to fix it. Try to change it for good, the good that you know. But a government that will lie to you, people who will lie to you and tell you that, you know, that the one candidate is going to whatever, they lie to you and tell you that, they're not going to raise taxes, that they're the group for you, not the group for you, they're the group for controlling you. They want you to get their insurance, get their information plan. There are plans in works for the internet to be owned by the government, to be subsidized and owned just like the gas lines, just like, and look at this. They've regulated gas to the point where they decide what the price is. You know why it's 2 something or 3 something today or this week? Because that looks good on them. You know what it'll be next week? I bet it's close to $4 in Ohio here, and it's been under 3 for about 2 to 3 weeks. But they don't care anymore. They don't have to hold it down. Now they need to make their money back. If you look at these bills that are coming through that are starting to regulate things, you know, if you don't follow Warren Davidson, it doesn't matter if you're from Ohio or not, but follow Warren Davidson. He went to Europe this week or a couple weeks ago, checked out the central bank, and is starting to sound the alarm. We sounded the alarm about a year and a half, 2 years ago, about this surveillance and social currency. But it's 100% real, and what we said is what's coming down the pike. You won't be able to spend your dollars anymore. Your green cash, not gonna fly. They wanna be able to control that, and they wanna make sure that they can get half to 3/4 of every dollar that you own. They wanna control that. They're gonna JCPenney you. You're gonna live off that 10%, and they're gonna take 90%. You keep working hard so that they can keep making those dollars and they can keep hanging out, creating stock surges, getting ahead of that meme stock that you think you're getting ahead on. Yeah, they made millions and billions off of those. And there is no reason for those stocks to go up other than that the government regulates the stock market. And so they let it they allow it to go up, and they let you get a little piece. Aren't they so nice? But you look at it, your Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's, they're up 30, 40%, 50% on the stock market. It's not normal. A good average is 10, 15%, 20%. Make your money work for you. Do good. If you're really good in it, 20-25% is nice. If you're average, 4 to 8% is good. If you're doing 10 or 15%, you're rocking. Yeah. Let's do this. Think about that. If you're doing 10 or 15% on $1 million, it's 150,000 a year. If you got 150,000 and you're doing 10 or 15%, that's 15 to 30,000 a year. It's not bad. That's a little extra. That's a good side hustle. But think about that too. You make $10,000 and you go tap capital gains tax on it, you're going to give them $3,000 of it. So you think you just made enough to go on that nice vacation. But so look at the big picture. Look at everything that they're doing, where the control is coming from. You're going to see the group that wants to control you socially, the group that wants to control, you know, let's put them in office. Because I want friends from Washington that want to control what I do in my bed. They want to control the water outside. Who will stop the rain? So, on that note, get out there and vote. Get out, get your stuff done, get out there and vote. It may take a little while. It probably won't take as long because I stood in an hour line on Sunday. But make sure you get in that line. Get your votes heard. Maybe 150,000, 150 million people voted last year or last presidential election, if you believe that all of that was copacetic. Maybe 150,000 or 150 million, which means that about 50 to 60% of registered voters or of adult age voters um eligible could vote. So stop voting on your voice. Stop voting on your American Idol. Get out there and vote for real. Take all that practice you've had and vote for real. So, one other thing you can do for me, if you're still here, thanks a lot. Get on there, follow, like, and share. Help us out that way. Follow, like, share. Hit the thumbs up if you're on one of those apps that do that. Um, I can see there's about 4 or 5 of you guys on Rumble. We appreciate you. Get a follow, like, a share. If you want to really help us out, we have a little link that you can go to. It takes you to Spreaker. Spreaker is our distribution site for our podcast. I'll load this podcast up about post taste and get you on that. But there we go. I just uploaded the link for our support page. Help us out with that. Get in there. Get us a couple bucks. It's $2 a month, and you get extra podcasts, things like that. These little podcasts that come up, and just some moments and minutes You also get some archived podcasts and things of that nature. That'll help you out. Gets the information that you want, you need, and you know, help us out. But this is the Why I'm Angry podcast from the Freestyle Man Cave studio, and that's really it. Get out, get it voting, do your civic duty. This is your patriotic day, and look at the big picture for real. Just look at the big picture. Look at history. It's different. Obviously, we're in a new time, new age, new whatever. But get in, do your duty. Whether you're going to vote against me or you're going to go vote for it with me, I just want you to vote. Educate yourself and vote. All right, guys. Love you guys. God bless you guys. And, like always, remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcasts. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.